Hello, everyone, and welcome to my live. I am Coach Sherry, and I wanted to talk about Thanksgiving food favorites. I know I said I was going live at 9:15. I'm a little early, but y'all, I am exhausted. I am here in New Jersey with my dad. We are here to visit his sister, who is just the two of them left, two out of 11. And my dad wanted to see his sister. And I was like, you know what? He seemed to be a bit worried about her. She's older of between him and her, and he just wanted to lay eyes on her, make sure everything is all good. And it just so happens that tomorrow my aunt's youngest daughter, youngest of four, and she's one of my dearest cousins, is having a dessert party for. It's something that has every year, but she's celebrating coming up soon her 60th birthday, and so she's going to have a 60 candle birthday, like 16 candles, and it just so happens that we are here for it. So I listen. Sweetness is my weakness. I don't know if you caught my short that I posted earlier, but I definitely know that I love, love, love sweets. I see the mother and daughter duo. They came in the building a little earlier, about an hour earlier than I started this live, but I really appreciate you, ladies. I appreciate your support. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you can pop in while I am still live. If not, definitely come back for the replay. But y'all, I am so tired. We left at it was still dark this morning when we left. I think I woke up about 3:30 a.m. to drive to Virginia, then on to Jersey. We were going to try to make it to New York, but my dad and I both were tired and hungry and said, let's, you know what, we're in our stopping grounds. Let's just stop here, stay here overnight. Tomorrow, get up, go to my cousin's, let him have a great visit with his sister, and I'm going to have a good time with the ladies, and just kind of hang out on Saturday there, and then head back to the South on Sunday. But on our ride up, my dad and I had hours and hours and hours to talk. And talk we did. Oh my goodness. My father really is something else. I promise you, to be 85, first of all, he is very hip and in tune. I don't know if you remember, but I believe it was the year before last, for his birthday. I had him come on as a guest on a live that I had. We weren't together, but I had called him and put him on speaker because I wanted him to share his business story and to just inspire and motivate the listeners to, listen, if it's in you to do it, you can absolutely do it and achieve it and accomplish what you set out to do. So he definitely came on and had a great conversation with him. He dropped some valuable nuggets, but my dad is hilarious. He does some of the funniest things and says the funniest things to me. He and I both keep it real with each other, and it's just a good time always when we are together. We have very similar personalities, and it's just always a good time. But one of the things that we talked about on the way up, on our journey up, was my mother's cooking and how we both regret not being in the kitchen when she was cooking. And because we weren't in the kitchen, neither one of us can cook well and definitely can't cook like she cooked. And that's definitely a missed craft, a missed art. And, I just want to encourage you, if you still have your mother or aunties or grandmothers and they get it in the kitchen, do not take that for granted. Go into that kitchen with them, sit under them, learn everything that they are doing. And oftentimes, old school, they don't measure, they don't have things written down. So you really have to be underfoot to see exactly how they're measuring, how they putting those pinches of this and a tab of that in things so that you can then redo it when for years to come and pass those recipes on to your family. Now, when my mother was alive and well, I did capture some of her recipes that I really enjoyed. I wrote them down, but I still to this day had not tried many of them. I can make her fried apples really well, and I can make homemade biscuits like she made them, but I just haven't made either one of those in so long. It is making me think that probably for Christmas, I will attempt to make that. But I just wanted to come on here and just talk about some of my Thanksgiving favorites, and hopefully you will share yours. Maybe you have some that are similar or some that are a tad bit different than what my favorites are. Now, for the past, I've been married 28 years, and I want to say more than half of the Thanksgivings for being married, we were always in a different city far away from our family, because it was typically during the football season, and we had to be in the city that we lived in. Luckily, my husband never had an away game on Thanksgiving, but nevertheless, he had practice. He would always have practice on Thanksgiving. And so his parents used to come to us all the time, especially when his father was alive, and we would have Thanksgiving in whatever city we were in. I remember the first year that we were in St. Louis, and that was the first year that the Rams, the team itself, was in St. Louis, and we had the entire offensive linemen over for dinner. My mother-in-law, she did all the cooking. I was her sous chef, and oh my goodness, it was something else. Seeing her, the way that she cooks, and she cooked just like my mother. That old school. They stay up all night making everything from scratch. I knew then. I said, you know what? I don't think I'll be able to ever do it like this, because the next day on Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law was exhausted. She really couldn't enjoy herself the way that I felt like she deserved to, because she did all that work and then was not really able to enjoy the fruits of her labor. But it was still a really nice evening. Everyone enjoyed themselves. There was more than plenty of food for everyone, and it was really wonderful. Growing up, either my mother hosted Thanksgiving, or we would go to New York to one of my father's sisters for Thanksgiving. All of our families, my mother's side of the family and my father's side, all lived relatively close between New Jersey and New York. And, so we were very fluid in terms of being able to have holidays and special occasions with aunts, uncles, cousins. And, you know what? I miss that so much because now everyone is so transient and they live in so many different states across the country, until it's really hard to have that same connection. We are absolutely connected. So when we see each other, of course, we are loving on each other and happy to be in each other's presence, but to just, seamlessly be with each other for the holidays and everything, it's just been more challenging. So again, my dad and I were talking about Thanksgiving and holidays and just good food. My mother was the type of cook that didn't even want you in the kitchen with her. She would be like, I got this. Because, I would often ask you, do you need some help with something? And she would always say, no, just go ahead, go on to bed. I don't need you to, be tired tomorrow and have an attitude or whatever. And, so I basically was the cleanup committee for her. My dad too, once we all moved out and everything and moved away, he said he would go in and see what he could do, but again, she wouldn't really want his assistance. And that's the kind of cook my mother was. So if you again have a mother, auntie, grandmother, close family friend, anyone that you love their food, be underfoot, get their recipes, learn how they do what they do, because that cooking from scratch, cooking those delicious foods, that food for the soul, that food that makes you feel like you just got that hug, that is becoming a lost art. And again, since I can't cook like that, typically we have to have our food catered. And we've been doing that now for at least 20 years, for the major holidays. The one thing that I always, always, always make for my family on the holidays is my mac and cheese. That's the one thing I can make very, very well. And they love it. They love it. And I'm so happy that they do. But I wanted to just again go over some of the foods that we all typically enjoy for the holidays, for Thanksgiving in particular. Thanksgiving is around the corner. Can you believe it? We are 2 weeks out from Thanksgiving. So I want to start out with, let me see, um, just a second. Stage. Okay. They're doing seafood boils. They're doing steak. I know last Thanksgiving, our children went to New York to have Thanksgiving with my mother in law and sister in law. And that was the very first Thanksgiving. That was, we had been married at that time for 27 years. That was our very first Thanksgiving alone without anyone, no visitors, nothing. And so my husband and I decided to be non-traditional, and we have like steak and mashed potatoes and green beans and just very, nice, fulfilling, tasty, but not traditional at all. And so we didn't have the turkey, and it was different, but it was good. It was still good. So I get it. Thanksgiving does not have to always include the turkey. A lot of people are vegetarians. My daughters are vegetarians, so they haven't eaten turkey in about 7 years because they don't eat meat. But, tell me, do you fry, roast, bake, smoke your turkey, or do you not have turkey at all on Thanksgiving? I see. I'm doing well. Thank you, the mother and daughter duo. I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay, because I am not sure how my volume is. Okay. Yeah, I am in a hotel right now. It's an average room. I don't know. Ever since C19, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I've always been particular about hotel rooms, but especially now after C-19. So, um, I'm just here. I wanted to come live. I said, you know what? I'm going live tonight, even though I am exhausted. But I did want to just share this about Thanksgiving food favorites. All right. So, hello. How are you, RX Nels? Good to see you. Good to see you. Do you eat turkey for Thanksgiving? And if you do you eat it fried? Do you eat it roasted? Smoked, baked, or how do you eat it? Or I know some people just eat the turkey parts, like they just buy the turkey wings and the legs and just bake those or barbecue those. There's so many different ways that people are doing it now, non-traditional. I remember, my mother would bake it, and then make the stuffing and then stuff it and then bake it more. And it was a lot. It was a lot. So I haven't had a stuffed turkey in years because we always eat fried turkey. All of the above. All right. Yes. Yes. No cranberry. And cranberry is not a favorite for everyone. That is for sure. I know that no one really in my family prefers it, but I always get it. I just feel like even if I'm not going to eat it, it needs to be in the building. And typically, I'll just take a slither of it because I do like that sweetness with my stuffing and also with a little bit of the turkey. But I'm not a huge fan of it, but I definitely feel like it needs a place at the table. Mm-hmm. No, indeed. And then people are doctoring up cranberry. They have the cranberry chutney and jellied, and the kind that's like you have to have the spoon to get it, and with nuts in it, all kinds of ways. I just like it out of the can, nothing too fancy. I do like to put it on some china though, trying to make it fancy. And it looks crazy because it still has the ridges from the actual can that it came out of. But that's definitely how I enjoy it. And then I slice a little piece, and that's basically all that. I'm the only one that uses it in that way. But definitely, we have to have that cranberry at the table. And I don't know why so many people don't like it. They don't prefer it. I'm surprised that it is still sold in abundance or available in abundance. You can't find hardly anything else in the grocery store, but I bet you for Thanksgiving we're going to see those cranberry cans for sure. Another thing that I love on Thanksgiving is the sweet potato souffle. And this was another one of the things that my mother used to make. Oh, that's mac and cheese. This is another thing that my mother used to make, and it was so delicious. I mean, you almost didn't need to eat sweet potato pie afterwards because this was almost as good as a dessert. And my mother would get that mixer and get to whipping those sweet potatoes and put the marshmallows on top, and it was just so delicious. And I don't know about you, but I love pairing sweet potatoes with collard greens. For some reason, that sweet and savory just hits me just right. So yes, I love everything about sweet potatoes as well. Sweet potatoes is definitely one of my favorites. Um, and they're really good for you, actually. I mean, minus the sugar and the other additives that we add to it to make it even that much sweeter. But I used to love my mother's sweet potato souffle. I also, even when she would make that, she would also make the sweet potato, the candied yams. And let me see. I know that I have that picture of the candied yams. No, those are the collard greens. The candied yams, and my mother would make those. And so now, typically, since I don't cook, I um I will order candied yams because not everyone makes the sweet potato souffle, and some people don't even know what it is. So I just stick with the oldie but goodie, the candied yams, and go with that. So that's basically how I do that. And then another thing that I love is homemade yeast rolls. And I remember seeing my mother knead the dough and make it up and everything and put it together or put it in a ball, I think she would, and then put a towel over it so it could rise. And then she would, separate them and put them in a pan to bake. And I promise you, these rolls right here look exactly like my mother's yeast rolls. And I used to love, love, love them. Add a little bit of butter to it, eat them while they're hot, get them while they're hot. And so now the substitute that I use are, they come in a bag. You can either get them in the bag where you can take them out individually, or you can get them and they're in a foil pan. I think there's something sisters. I can't recall the name. If you remember the name of those yeast rolls that I know Walmart, most everybody sells them. Walmart, Target, all the supermarkets, Publix, Food Lion, Harris Teeter, they all sell them in the frozen foods. And that's what we use to get that simulated homemade yeast roll effect. But I would love to be able to make homemade yeast rolls at least once in my lifetime, for sure. Definitely. And so again, stuffing. Now, growing up, everyone I knew used to stuff the turkey with the stuffing, and then, when the everything was laid out for you to get your plate, everyone would take the stuffing from inside the turkey and, do it like that. And so now people are like putting a lot of effort and energy into making their stuffing. I know my mother did too. She was always drizzling this on there, this extra um meat or runoff from something, and chopping up giblets and that, and her celery, chopping it up finely and doing all kinds of things, and getting the bread, and just it would be just so she can crumble it up. And everyone has their different way of making stuffing, for sure. And some people call it dressing. I grew up, we called it stuffing. Did y'all call it stuffing or dressing? Your mother would buy the dinner rolls from the bag? No, not burn them. Those are actually really easy to burn, because first of all, I know for me, because I'm not a cook, I forget about them. So that's the first part. But once they get burnt, you're like, oh my goodness, what did I just do? But that's so crazy. She burns them every year. And yeah, it only needs, no, I don't know if it needs 2 minutes. I think it needs a little bit longer than that. But yeah, she probably forgot. That's like the last thing you put in, and it's the last thing you forget to take out, unfortunately. So, but how do you like your stuffing? Me personally, again, since I don't cook, if I'm going to make it, I use stovetop stuffing, the cornbread version, and to me, that tastes pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I know it's missing the celery and all the other additives that people doctor up their stuffings with or their dressings with, but I absolutely love stovetop stuffing, the cornbread version. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is the last thing you forget to take out of the oven, for sure. And it's real quick. That the stuffing typically is one of the last things that I might whip together. You just pour in the contents in a pot, put some water in there, and basically let it sit and do its thing. So, if you have a different way of doing your stuffing, what are some of your family secrets or best practices? Or if you doctor up stovetop stuffing, what do you use to doctor it up? Because I would like to add a special twist to it if I could. The next thing is collard greens. Now, I really like to have my collard greens mixed with turnip greens, because turnip greens to me just gives it turnip greens are more meatier, in texture. They're not as stiff as collard greens, and I just love that combination of turnips and collard greens. And when now that my daughters are vegetarian, I have to be a little more creative with the meat content of the collard greens. Now, I hope they're not watching this, but these are some of the tricks that I might do, because I can't really have the people that make our food add the meat and have it in there. So I kind of add it when I'm heating it up, add the meat, and then I have to take it out as if it wasn't in there. And my girls are funny vegetarians because they can't even taste it. They know it tastes good, and I want to tell them so bad. It probably tastes good because of the smoked turkey necks or the smoked, pork that's in there, but I don't tell them, but it's just crazy that, that's the type of vegetarians that they are. Hmm. So how do you doctor up your dressing? Let me see. Corn with shrimp and crab meat. Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. That's probably delicious. So you just put cornbread dressing, like just regular. I know they have the bags. It's not even stovetop. It's just the bags of like the cornbread chunks, I guess. So do you just use that and the shrimp and crab meat, or what else do you add to it? Yes, but I love the collard greens, and I have to have them for every holiday regardless. I definitely again love pairing it with, and like even when I place it on the plate, I always place it next to or near the sweet potatoes because I just think those really match up very well together. Let's see. So the other vegetable that we typically will have on Thanksgiving are green beans, and I'm not seeing the green beans on here. Let me see. Hold on. Because green beans is another great vegetable to have for the holidays. Just the whole process of making them, like snapping them, cleaning them. You snap them, you have a big bowl, and everyone takes some, and you kind of talk and reminisce about things, and just very nostalgic. So I really enjoyed the whole process of string beans. It takes me back to going growing up and going visiting great aunts in the South. I grew up in New Jersey, not a country girl at all. They used to call me City Mouse when I would visit in Virginia, and just sitting around with the older women, listening to their stories. And that's another thing, when my dad and I were driving up, and I was telling him things that I had remembered as a child and things I experienced. And he was just like, "You remember a lot of things." And I'm like, "You know what? I do. I have no idea why, but I was very, very in tune to what was going on around me at all times. It was interesting." Let's see. Yes, adding, yes. So your grandmother used to make the stuffing and the what we're not calling the stuffing, the what did we call it? The dressing. Yeah, so that's wonderful. I unfortunately I never grew up with my grandmothers. My mother's mother died the year before I was born, and my dad's mother died shortly after I was born. But my aunts, all of my aunts, and I had a ton of great aunts. My mother's mother, my grandmother, her sisters, all, I mean, they lived till they are in their 90s, and like one lived to 101. So I got to taste their food and always imagined that that's how my grandmother's food would have tasted. And then, of course, my father's sisters, I eat their food and wonder and imagine that maybe that's how my father's mother's food tasted. So definitely. Hey, Key Kitchen and More, how are you? Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I'm trying to get my voice up a little bit. I'm in a hotel, so I don't want to get too loud. I don't know the acoustics in here, and I'm tired. I just wanted to come on here thinking about Thanksgiving that's around the corner and the foods that we love to eat on that special day. So thank you, RX Nels. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I think that's why. Um, I tend to remember so much, and I used to ask a lot of questions of the elders in my life about back in the day. I remember my grandmother's sisters used to wonder, like, "Girl, you ask so many questions. What, you writing a book or something? Why are you asking us so?" Because not a lot of young people are curious and ask all kind of detailed questions. So they was just so like, "Why are you asking all that?" But I wanted to know who my grandmother was. I wanted to know everything that they could possibly tell me about her as a person, her personality, things that she liked to do and experience, and how did she make people feel, just all those things. And I just think that's important. Having a high level of curiosity is not a bad thing at all. Thank you all for speaking and stopping by. Thank you so much because you definitely could be anywhere else. It is Friday, and I want to again. Today is Veterans Day, and actually, it should be more than a day. And I know that a lot of places had activities for veterans all week. We have to honor those who serve and have served in the military because they go over and beyond. They are putting their life on their online so we can be free, and I want to thank them for their service. Thank you for all that you do, for doing things that many of us aren't willing to do. If any of you in the live tonight are veterans, thank you so so much. Totally appreciate you. you know Even thinking about this food has me thinking about my father's brother. So my father is one of 11, and I want to say he's probably the third youngest of the 11. But my father has such a big personality, and he just got along with all his siblings. And his youngest, my uncle Rome in the house. Jerome's in the house. But my uncle Jerome, Uncle Rome, he was in the service. He was the only sibling. I want to say my mother's oldest brother may have served, but definitely my father's youngest brother. He served in the military, and he served at the latter part of Vietnam. And the crazy thing is, he didn't go overseas, but like as a young child talking with him, he didn't know where he was. He was underground, like literally under in the earth. Like that's where he did his duty. He was underground, and he never told me what he was doing under there, but he was underground. And he said every now and again they were able to lift up like the latch or the hatch, and all they would see was fields. Nothing. Like there was no indicator of where they were. They didn't he didn't know where he was, which is so wild. Um and he was a special uncle. He was born on Christmas, and he loved giblet gravy, which my mother made so well. I know that I have it. Let me see. My mother made the giblet gravy, and he literally would pour it on everything. He would pour it on everything. Like some things I thought he was playing. I'm like, Uncle Rome, you're not supposed to pour it on that. He poured the giblet gravy on the collard greens, the green beans, the sweet potatoes, the mac and cheese, the of course the turkey, the stuffing, the roll, the whole plate. It would be a pool of giblet gravy. My mother would specifically make it for him. My Uncle Rome reminded me of and he's passed away years ago. I want to say probably 20 years now. But he reminded me of the character in, well, he's not a character, he's a real person. What was his name? The one that played the harmonica. He reminded me of him a lot. But Uncle Rome, he and his wife, at the time, my Aunt Joyce, those they were like my favorite aunt and uncle. They didn't have any children. They were the youngest aunt and uncle that I had. And my Aunt Joyce was that one that if my mother wouldn't buy me designer jeans, she would. And then but she would come with them. My mother would just shake her head like I didn't want her to have those. But it was all in good fun, and it was much respect. It wasn't she wasn't doing it out of disrespect. She just loved to just get me things. I don't know. And she would take me to the movies, and my brothers. They would take us to the movies, and I remember she took me to see The Wiz when it came out, and would pick me up after school or after summer camp when I would go to the Y day camp growing up, and she would pick me up, and it was just a good time. And my Uncle Rome, you just never know how your family sees you. And if you are that aunt or uncle and you really have that special bond with your niece and nephew, let them know that, do something special for them. So my Uncle Rome gave me, I will never forget, when I was in middle school, he gave me a black American princess charm. And when I tell you that charm meant the world to me, I actually still have it. And it was so special to me. Black American princess. Like, what? I mean, that's how he thought of me. And it was so cool. I thought that was so special. Um, you don't always hear, especially back then. This was like in 1982, 81 when got that for me. You didn't really see that or hear that, for our black young girls, that we were looked upon as Black American princesses or princesses at all. So I'm grateful for him. Yeah. Let's see. You love to prep a couple of days before Thanksgiving. I'm sure. You know what? Listen, K Kitchen and more. I'm this with your name. Period. I'm sure you definitely are in there. I would love to see or hear what's on your menu for Thanksgiving. You know, um, all I know is I make the mac and cheese, and it takes me all day to do it. That's so sad. We pick up our food the day before Thanksgiving, and then the day of Thanksgiving, I make sure to put everything in pots. You would think I cooked everything the way our kitchen looks when it's all said and done. So I see everyone is speaking. Oh, do you make your banana pudding? Do you make it with chessman cookies or Nella wafers? Because I love the recipe with the chessman cookies, and that recipe is so easy. My father, his best friend is 90 years old. My father is 85, has been blessed to live 85 years and beyond, and his best friend is 90, Mr. Pelham, and he cooks a lot of good things. He makes apple cake that is so delicious. He's a great cook. And I remember, I'm not a cook, so when I make something, people aren't really expecting much from it. They're like, okay, here we go. But I knew I could make this banana pudding. So I brought all the ingredients to my father's house. I whipped it up. And, my father swore it was the best banana pudding he ever had, and he shared some with his best friend, and his best friend was like, oh my goodness, I have to have that recipe, that was so good. And I felt so complimented getting that compliment from him. I felt so good about myself, and in the kitchen. And so where they live is very rural, and they don't sell chessman cookies. I can't even tell you how hard it was. So I had to ship chessman cookies to Mr. Pelham one time so he could make it. Now he gets them, I don't know where he gets them from, but everyone looks forward to his banana pudding with those chessman cookies. Hello, Tales Told in the Dark. How are you doing? We're talking about Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving foods, the food favorites. Thank you all for speaking. I appreciate you all for being here because, again, you could be anywhere. And so, let me know in the chat if you have ever tasted giblet gravy. I don't know what a giblet is, but it's something that's in I think a chicken or a turkey or something like that. It's like a meat, and you just basically chop it up. I wish I watched my mother when she made it, but it's definitely homemade the way my mother made it anyway. And it was always really, really good. It's very savory, very, very savory, and it's much thicker than regular gravy. And I think it's because it has those chunks of meat in it from the giblet. And I don't even know what a giblet is, but it does taste really good for sure. And my husband really likes mashed potatoes. So, I'll make sure to have mashed potatoes on the menu as well. I'm telling you, if you make them right, those things definitely hit really well. Now, if I have sweet potatoes, I don't eat the white potatoes, but I just have those on the side. Thanksgiving is one of those meals where you try to have everyone's their favorite something to make it special for them. And that's the least I can do is make sure that, all the things that my husband enjoys, we have it on the table, making sure that my children, their foods that they love are there. And really, they all love my mac and cheese. So I always make sure I make a huge, huge, huge box of that for sure. Let's see, everyone is speaking. And let me see if that's it for the main dishes. I think it is. And again, how do you all have your turkey? I know that RX Nell said all of the above: fried, roasted, baked, smoked? How do you eat your turkey on Thanksgiving? My household, we always, always, always eat it fried. Always have a fried turkey. How do you eat your turkey? Now let's move to the desserts, which is my favorite. So for Thanksgiving, we always do pies. We do a lot of pies. And I know RX Nails, you had said and mentioned that you love everything sweet potato. So when I was dating my husband and his parents would tailgate at the Giants home games. At the time, my husband was playing for the Giants, and his mother would have a trunk full of Thanksgiving food. Like, I had never seen anything like it, but she would also have barbecue ribs, fried chicken, collard greens, candied yams, mac and cheese, green beans, sweet potato salad, biscuits, rolls, pies, but she had this one dessert, sweet potato cake. And I promise you, when I first tasted that sweet potato cake, I, to this moment, I have not tasted a dessert as good as her sweet potato cake. Now, there's been other sweet potato cakes that I've encountered, but none has been as good as hers. Hopefully, if I am able to go back and edit this live, I will include a link at the end that goes to a video that I made a couple of years ago describing how to make that sweet potato cake. I have the recipe. I've never attempted, not even attempted to make it because it's so many different levels that you have to do to make it. So I bet you Kate, I'm sorry, Key Kitchen and More. I bet you could make it. It has so many different levels to it. It mimics so many different things until when you're eating it, you're just like, what did I just bite into? It's just a burst of all different types of amazing flavors swirled together to call itself a cake. And it's just amazing. Yaya's best life. How are you doing? Great to see you. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. I hope all is well on your end. And so that is one of my favorite. Oh, I should say it's just one of my favorites. I haven't had hers in a long time, but I'm trying to tell you. And this is not hers. Hers is actually taller than this. It's one of the most deep dish looking cake, layered. You could only have one slice a day if you're going to eat it. You can't eat a slice and then think you're going to have another slice on the same day. It's just that rich. Now, I love that cake so much until when we got married. You know how some cultures have groom cake where they'll put it in a white box and have the date and everything, and it's separate from the wedding cake. And I know, I want to say in the Caribbean, I'm not sure if it's Jamaica or, other parts of the Caribbean, or maybe many of the same Caribbean islands that do this, but they'll have rum cake and they'll have it as the groom's cake, and everyone will go home with a piece in that box, and they can either eat it later, put it in the fridge, and it's just kind of like a reminiscent dessert of that special day. Well, she and her sisters all summer. I got married in February. Don't ask me how they did this. She's very like strategic in things that she does. She's a teacher. She's amazing, and so she definitely thinks things through. So she and her sisters that summer made the cakes. They had to make it in a different. They had to modify the ingredients because instead of it being a layered cake, they were just going to have it as a one layer, and they needed to freeze it, and it needed to last until February when we actually were getting married. She had to do it in the summer because she taught, and that's when she had off and had the most time to be able to do it. And so she did that, and I had 400 guests as well. So that's another thing. So they had to make sure that, there was at least 400 slices. And when I tell you the phone calls we got the next day, people were just like screaming, "What kind of cake was that? Like, was it carrot cake? Was it German chocolate cake? Was it a pecan cake? Was it a coconut?" They could not understand the flavors. It was just so amazing to them. And I wanted them to have that kind of experience with that cake. I really did. And I was so happy that they had it. But if you all ever, I am, it won't be today because after this, I am definitely going night night. But I will go in probably on Monday at some point into the studio and add an end cap to this video, and it's going to be the video that I made on regarding the sweet potato cake. And in the description of that video, I do have all the ingredients and the actual recipe to make that cake. So hopefully you all will check that out. And if you make it, if y'all make that cake, that sweet potato cake, please tag me so that I can see it, because it'll do my heart so, it'll make me so full, like in my heart, if you do that for real. I would love that. Yes. Oh my goodness. Can y'all hear all the traffic outside of this hotel? What type of no soundproof is this? Do y'all hear the cars going by and stuff? It's crazy. But you know what? I'm grateful to be here with my father. He's in the room next to me. Um, it's actually kind of like an adjoining room, but I don't think we can open those doors. I'm just glad that I was able to bring him here. I do enjoy his company. I will cherish these moments forever and ever. And just exposing him still at 85 to new things. I love it when it's actually us getting lost for some reason. I don't know why, but these past couple of times that we've driven up here, somehow, and we got lost in DC, we got lost or turned around in Maryland, and we ended up in a part that we never went to before. Because, typically it's a straight shot down 95, going 95 north. So I told my father, I said, "Look at you learning stuff at 85." But he loves learning things new. I love the conversations about financial matters with him, talking about investments, and because he's definitely an investment and business guru for sure. And, just having some great conversation, real talk with him. All right, let's see. So, again, my family on Thanksgiving, we always do all of our favorite pies. So, my husband's favorite pie is the coconut cream pie. Now, I don't prefer it really, and this is crazy thing. We all know each other's favorite pie, and none of us really like the other's favorite pies too much. I mean, there's some crossover a little bit, like with the sweet potato and pecan, but and I know I love key lime. My youngest loves key lime, but this coconut pretty much is my husband's. And so this is his favorite pie. Let me know, do you like coconut cream pie? Have you had it before? My center child, she likes the Oreo cream pie, and I don't prefer that. It's just too, I don't know, something about it's almost like it's too juvenile or something. I just don't prefer it at all. But her and my son, they like this pie. My youngest loves the key lime pie, and so do I. I love the tartness of the key lime pie, and how it's creamy yet tart. I really enjoy that. All of us, now this is the one that we all love, which is this apple pie. And I selected this picture because this actually looks like my mother's crust. And again, because my mother was a wonderful cook, she always made her pie crust from scratch. Everything she made was from scratch. And her apple pies would look a lot like this slice right here. And then, of course, we have, let me see, what did I? Pecan pie. We like the pecan pie as well. You know what? The sad part, I did not like pecan pie. Oh, and my husband didn't either until probably 10 years ago. Like, I never even tasted it until 10 years ago. And my mother used to make it from scratch, and I've never had my mother's pecan pie before because I just could not get the concept of nuts being in a pie, and what kind of filling is that? The whole concept of the pecan pie threw me off. So I never even tasted a slither, not even a slither of my mother's pecan pie, which, I regret right now. I do. I do. And then the last dessert is the sweet potato pie. Now, I don't have an image of that, but we all know what sweet potato pies are. Now, I'm always kind of on the fence, especially if I have a lot of um, candied yams, or if I have the sweet potato souffle. I'm kind of like, dang, that's a lot. Do I also have it for dessert as a pie? Because low key, sweet potato souffle is a pie without the crust. And guess what? We still do though. And I really like the patty pie. Do you all eat patty pie? Patty LaBelle's sweet potato pie? I really feel like if I had to put it up against a homemade pie or another store bought pie, I would definitely put hers up there with the homemade pie. Let me know, do y'all enjoy patty pies as well, or is it just me? Because sometimes people like me that don't really cook, our taste buds can be a little off. I want to go back to the main course. So mac and cheese. Let me tell you, I would put my mac and cheese in a contest because that's how confident I am that it tastes just that good. And I do have some special seasonings that I put in that I don't really see too many people using. And my family absolutely loves it. And the crazy thing is, last year when they were in New York and weren't home for Thanksgiving, and because they weren't home, my husband likes my mac and cheese, but I don't have to make it like that, and I only make it really for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and whoever is home for their birthday, they'll request it. But last Thanksgiving, I didn't make any. I didn't make the mac and cheese. And so my daughter and son came back from New York. My youngest daughter flew on to school. She didn't stop in Charlotte. And they were like, do you have mac and cheese? Where's your mac and cheese? And I was like, I know grandma made mac and cheese, so I didn't make any. They was like, what? Yeah, grandma made it, but we wanted some of yours and this, that, and the other. So, needless to say, they're not going to leave us alone anymore for Thanksgiving because they want to ensure that I make my mac and cheese. And I really feel I'm so tickled over that because I'm so not a cook, but I appreciate the love that they give me. And you know what? When I make my mac and cheese, and because I know they love it so much, I do put a lot of love into it for sure. Mm. I had to drink some water. It's so dry in here. Oh my goodness. So let's see. Retro Babe Saves. How are you? Patty needs a little more sugar, you think? Let me think. You think it needs a little more sugar? What about if you put ice cream with it? Does the ice cream help top it off with the sugar at all, do you think? I never had her banana pudding. Does she have cookies in her banana pudding? And if so, are they chessmen or are they Nilla wafers? I since I'm trying to tell you, since I've had that chessmen cookie recipe banana pudding, I can't eat the recipe with Nilla wafers. If I see a banana pudding with Nilla wafers, I can't do it. I'm already knowing it's not going to be right. Not for me. Thank you for passing through. I appreciate that. Retro Babe Saves. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank y'all for saying hello to everyone. No. Oh my goodness. I heat the pie up just a little bit. Just to take the edge off, just to take the chill off, and then put the ice cream on, and the pie is warm enough to melt the ice cream just a tad bit. And to me that is everything. I mean, whew, that's a whole different type of dessert. That's not even just regular sweet potato pie at that point. Like, what kind of cookies though? Is it the Chessman cookies, or does she use the Nella wafers? I haven't even seen it. Does she have that in the frozen foods, or is that where her pies are? Like, I'm sure it can't be unrefrigerated, right? Let me tell you what I did one time. Again, I am not a cook. I don't even care. Listen, I do a lot of other things great. So I'm not even worried about not being able to cook. But one day I was going to make the banana pudding. I think it was probably Christmas or New Year's. No, it was New Year's. I typically will make a banana pudding on New Year's Eve, and that will be kind of one of our desserts for New Year's Eve. And I was I had the bananas. You know how you try to get bananas and don't eat them for the week so they can get kind of old and soft and everything, just right for the banana pudding. But as the day came, I felt like I needed a couple of more, not a full set of bananas, but just like a couple of more bananas because I like to have at least try to have a little piece of a banana in every bite. So I went to the grocery store and they had these bananas that were loose. They weren't in a bunch. So I was like, oh, this is cool. They must know a lot of people make banana pudding. And so they, take the bananas and make them loose. So you could just buy one or two and not just buy a whole bunch. So I brought two bananas and, some other things, came home. And and the bananas also, I was like, oh, they probably did that because those bananas were turning brown. So I said, they probably know that you need to have them a little softer, but people won't buy a whole bunch of brown bananas. But if they're making banana pudding, you're going to get one or two. So I went home and, I opened up the bunch of bananas that I already had. And then I was like, okay, let me add, I do need the extras. So let me get the two I just purchased and use them in this and use them. Boy, when I got to cutting, I was like, you know what? These bananas are a little hard to be so brown. They're not really as soft as I thought they would be. But it'll probably be okay. Guess what? Those weren't bananas. They were plantains. I put raw plantains in my banana pudding, thinking they were bananas. But guess what? My family still ate it. I mean, this it was still the plantains did not add any sweetness to it for sure, but it gave it. I guess you want to say, let's call it texture. Yeah, let's call it texture. They have four Nella wafers. Hmm. Okay, I did. Retro babe, they were plantains. That is the crazy. That's like I remember as a newlywed in our first Thanksgiving, and my mother and father-in-law lived in New York, and so my mother-in-law, she, again, she was teaching, so she would tell me different things to buy because they would come in on that, like they would fly in like maybe that Tuesday night or something before Thanksgiving. And so she would give me the list of the groceries and everything. So I brought everything, and I remember it was Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and she was in the kitchen, and she said, "Oh, you didn't get any butter?" I said, "Yeah, it's right there." She was like, "Where? I don't see it." I said, "It's in the fridge. It's right over here." And I pulled it out. It wasn't butter. I'm so crazy. Listen, it was. I can't believe it's not butter. All I saw was butter. I wasn't thinking about. I can't believe it's not butter. It was margarine. And real cooks, especially for the holidays, they can't. They don't even want to see margarine. They don't want to see that. And so we had to go, and it was Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and we ended up going to a convenience store, like a gas station. That was the only thing open, like a 7-Eleven, and that's where we had to buy the butter because the grocery stores were all closed. It's crazy. I was like, what in the world? You added old cooking oil to a batch of cookies? No. Yes. Oh my goodness. Listen, I had this get together at my house a few years ago, and I made brownie bites. And one of my guests, she brought her mother, and her mother was like 80 years old or something. And her mother, like, almost cracked a tooth because I forgot to put the oil period in the brownies. And so when you say it was like peanut brittle, them things you could low key put them in a slingshot and use them as a weapon. They're rocks. They're rocks. They are. And I just could not believe it. Because I'm like, why are these brownies so hard? No one could open them, nothing. And she just tried to bite into it, and it was like, it was really almost a terrible thing. And then I started thinking, like, looking around, like, what did I know and I realized I didn't put any oil at all in it. Hello, Mrs. Newton's big family, big noise. How are you doing? I'm so excited for you and your family. Your driveway is massive. Your kids are going to have a great time outside. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to see the final results. Thanks for taking us along for sure. I know they talked about you. I know they did. Because when you have a dessert and people are really excited about it, because they're like, oh, okay, there you go. All right. Wow, those are cookies. Good. Yeah, I would love to have some cookies. And they bite into it, and the crunch is not like one of those pleasant crunches that you get from one of those cookies that has those crispy edges type crunch, but the center is soft and all that. No, the crunch is throughout, and it's not a crunch, it's a hardness, it's a stone crunch. So I know they were like, we got to ask you what kind of oil you've been using. What's going on? I know. That's crazy. I'm trying to tell you. Yes. Hmm. Thank you all for being here. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Mrs. Newton's big family, big noise. Definitely. It's going to be wonderful. You're going to make so many great memories. God is blessing you and your family, and this is just the beginning. And I know you know that, this is going to be a place where your kids going to remember the memories that you create here. And it doesn't even have to be your forever, your last, but it's that stepping stone. It's the one for now that's going to be perfect, good and perfect for right now for you and your family. I did. I went over the Thanksgiving menu, and we are going to have quite a few things. And we were just wondering, the main question I have for everyone is about the turkey, because we always eat fried turkey, and we have been eating fried turkey now for the past 28 years. But, well, really like 27 years. But how do you like your turkey? How does your family enjoy it? Is it fried, baked, roasted, smoked? Do you just get turkey parts? Do you do barbecue turkey? Like, how do you like your turkey? And do you eat turkey? Because some people don't even eat turkey. I know one Christmas I tried to make a hen, and that was an epic fail. One Christmas, our first Christmas, I tried to fry chicken, and I didn't realize that chicken really fries better if two things. If you use flour or some type of batter substance on the chicken, and if you put more than just coating the bottom of the pan with oil. Yeah, because that doesn't really fry the chicken through and through. It kind of makes it really weird. So when I tried to serve it up, and I remember it was my husband, myself, and one of his teammates at the time, and this was in California. We were in Yorba Linda, California, and I remember we were sitting at the table, and I had the food, on platters and stuff in the middle, and we all just kind of sat there for a while. Nobody had any food on their plate. No, we just kind of sat there, and yeah, we looked around, and then we thought about it, my husband and I, at the same time, and we remembered a neighbor had invited us to dinner, an older couple, you know, they had invited us, but I had told them earlier that I was cooking, so we were going to decline. But we, at that moment, we wondered if we still could, you know, accept the invitation because we had no food. Because we couldn't eat the food I made. We just couldn't, and not be healthy afterwards. So we did. The three of us, and so now we're not just me and him. We also bringing somebody else, another big dude that likes to eat. And we knocked on the door. We was like, "Hi, remember you offered to offer the invitation, extended the invitation to us to come and have dinner. Well, can we still?" And they did. They opened their door with open arms and invited us in, and it was wonderful. We had a great time with them. Oh my goodness. I bought them the biggest bouquet of flowers the next day and had it delivered because that was a game changer. That definitely saved me for sure. Those are the two things you don't mess up is Thanksgiving or Christmas foods. You just don't. And first of all, you don't because back in the day, especially, stores did not open. So if you messed up, it was no later going nowhere. Like, you know how now on Christmas and on Thanksgiving you can go shopping in the afternoon. You couldn't do that back in the day. Those stores stayed closed until the next day. Let me see what you guys are talking about. All right. Your mother was Russian one year and made her cake batter in the same bowl that she had made the potato. Oh no, no, and the no, no. Okay, see, so retro babe save. I think your mother and we have a lot in common. We do. What between her roles and now this? Oh my goodness. I hope nobody was licking the bowl because that's the one thing. Did y'all do that as kids when your mother made homemade cake or cake? And when after she poured the batter and the bowl was there and everything, did you and your siblings ever fight over who's gonna lick the bowl? I don't know if other families did that, but that's what my brothers and I did. My oldest brother, really, and myself. We would always, it would be like on a Sunday or a Saturday. And after my mother would make a cake, we would be like, I got the bowl. Did y'all do that? I wonder. I never asked other people, did they do that? But we used to always do that. That is crazy though. Yeah, your mother's a cook like me. That's why I'm not a good cook because I don't have time to like stand there and really focus on the matter at hand. I was telling my father today, I was like, Dad, have you ever seen a burnt boiled egg? And he was like, What? Like, no. I said, Well, one day I was boiling 3 eggs and I burnt all of them. And one of the eggs jumped out of the pot and the lid was still on. And I heard it when it jumped out the pot. It was like an explosion, low key. Craziness. I forgot I was even boiling them. It was not a stitch of water in that pot when I went to go get those eggs. They were so burnt. It was crazy looking. You had fried turkey once? Oh, see, a lot of people think that fried turkeys will be dry, and if you make it wrong, it will be dry. But ours have always been super, super moist. You have to use peanut oil. You have to, the temperature has to be just right. That's why you have to get it from someone who's not a novice, someone who has been doing it for a while. And you know what? Popeyes chicken, they make good fried turkey, believe it or not. And it comes like sealed. This type of wrap is kind of like a um a suction sealed or something. And you just on the day of, you just put it, unseal it, put it in the oven to make sure it gets, fully warmed up and it is everything. It's well seasoned, it's delicious. Mhm. Yes. But see, okay, and that's the thing. A lot of times people that's in their backyard and they get the fried turkey thing and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna farm me some turkey this year. It should be easy. I'm just gonna go in the yard and do it." They don't always do it right. You got to make sure that you're injecting the turkey and it's well based with oil. You using peanut oil. Look, I'm a connoisseur when it comes to food. I just can't like actually do it. I know what is supposed to be done to it. I just, don't always do it right. Right, Mrs. Newton? Cake mix and potato salad? Well, I mean, I guess if you really are trying to save time, you got your main course and your dessert, so you're right there with it, I guess. But I don't know, the mayonnaise and all that. ah, I don't know. Who was the first one to take the bite and be like, "Wait, what's this?" Who did that babe in your family? Who took that first bite of the cake and was like, "Mom, really? What's this?" Oh my goodness. I can imagine. Food for the family and for church. Yeah, sounds like your mother was doing a lot. She had a great heart, for it. Does she still do a lot of that type of cooking? Or because of some of the mishaps, did she start slowing down a little bit? The mishaps with the food, with the rolls and the cake. Did she say, you know what? Let me focus on one group at a time. How's that? Oh, okay, a Mexican style. Oh, yeah. Everyone definitely has to be on the same page when you try to switch up, especially for Thanksgiving. I'm finding that switching up for Christmas is a lot easier for everyone to accept. So one Thanksgiving though, we had a seafood boil. Now again, my daughters are vegetarians, so I had to still have collard greens, yams, string beans, stuffing, mac and cheese for them, but I had still made enough for all of us, really. But then for my husband, my son, and I, we had, and I went to the fish market, the fresh fish market, and got snow crab legs, lobster, um, shrimp, clams. Of course, we had eggs, we had corn, we had new potatoes, we had sausage, and I looked at B Love's Life's how she made when back in the day when she used to make her seafood boils from scratch. I kept rewinding, writing down, like trying to pinpoint exactly how she did it all. And I made the whole thing from scratch. Brought a big old pot, and that was our first and last. It was good, but my husband and son just they were okay with it. It wasn't they still wanted it to, like at the end of the day, they would have preferred to just have the traditional turkey. So that's when I was like, you know what? For Thanksgiving, I'm not going to try to mix it up like this. I'll mix it up for either Christmas or New Year's. But for Thanksgiving, it's always going to just remain traditional because I don't, you know how it is. Well, y'all are all probably pretty good cooks in here, but your family's gonna love you anyway. They are. But it's just sad when you see them and you're just like, wow, this didn't really hit the way I thought it would. So I try to keep it as basic as I can. Yeah. I get that, Retro Babe. I'm glad that she cooks everything from scratch. I think that's the dopest thing, to be raised by someone that cooks everything from scratch. And you're right, when you're tired and you're rushing and there's a lot of things to do, you definitely can have those slip ups for sure. But I know that's why I love things like that. Those are those remember when stories. So y'all could be like, remember when Mama was rushing and she made that potato salad and then in the same bowl made that chocolate cake? That was crazy. Remember that? Those are those remember when stories, and that's what makes families family because we have those same things. Like yeah, remember because I know our family, we love sitting around and talking about the remember wins. Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad that you did. I'm glad you're, brave enough to say that because you start thinking maybe we kind of were weird a little bit. And then, just like how now kids have to wear helmets if they ride their bikes and stuff, they saying, oh, you can't eat raw eggs because this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, wow, that batter had eggs in it, and the eggs weren't cooked, and but true, that batter was the business. It really was. Yes. And as women, especially, when I do coaching sessions, I'll have men in the sessions too, but it's the women a lot of times that have that balance is just off. Their energy is zapped because they are being pulled here, there, and everywhere. And our pull is very emotional, so it's a lot that we have to carry, not just of ourselves, but the ones that are in our circle that we truly care for. And that's why it's really important to protect our energy the best way we can and have strategies around that. You didn't like the Popeyes? I wonder if it's like certain Popeyes because we actually had one Popeyes fried turkey before and it was really, really good. And so that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that if we get another one, maybe it won't be as good. I just want it to be consistent. And fried turkeys is hard to have that consistency because people don't make them all the time. And when you don't make it all the time, like at least every month, it's hard for it to, always be good like that. So I don't know. I know we have to have one this Thanksgiving, and that's always kind of like my thing, trying to find someone or some place that we can get it. Now, when we lived in New Orleans, oh, you could find fried turkeys on every corner. Everybody was making fried turkeys, and they were the truth with it. It was okay if they was in the yard because they've been in the yard frying turkeys. That's just what they do. But any place else in the country, I find that is very experimental. So we are gonna have to. I always say that every year, like I gotta find a person who could make good fried turkey. But I think I am gonna have to give Popeyes one more shot. I mean, they were good for me on my end, and I just hope that if I do go Popeyes, that it's consistent, that it's as good as it was when I had it before. Hey, Vernell, how are you doing? How's it going? My youngest is on your side of the town or the side of the country this weekend. She's on the West Coast. Thank you all for saying hello. Good to see everyone. So, have you started buying your Thanksgiving foods yet? Like, I know I have my mac and cheese, my box for that. Um, and when I say the box, I just mean the elbow mac and cheese. I mean, the elbow noodles. Do you all use the elbow noodles or do you use a different type of noodle? Because they have the other one that's like a corkscrew. And I know throughout the year, if my husband makes mac and cheese, he'll use that corkscrew. Renell, what's going on with you? How you doing? What else can you buy in advance for Thanksgiving? What other ingredients? Hey there. Because I know I started buying, just a little bit of this and that, but the majority of our things, again, we're gonna have catered, have another third party make it for us. And so it's just a matter of really on that day heating it up and just really focusing on the my mac and cheese. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you're doing well. Hello, puzzle pieces. How are you doing? Good to see you. Vernell, I'm glad that you're doing good. How's the weather over there? It was real interesting. My daughter, I forgot she was flying there to yesterday, to the West Coast, and I called her and she said, I'm boarding. I'll call you when I land." And time difference and everything, it was dark and at night, and then when she called me it was daylight and almost like the top of the day. And I was like, wow, I forget how that is. And hopefully she won't be too jet lagged when she comes back because she has a couple of more weeks of school another week of school before Thanksgiving break. So I am doing well, puzzle pieces. I'm doing well. I'm actually in New Jersey right now. I drove my dad up so he could have a nice visit with his sister. And we got here today and I'm really tired. But I did want to come live and I'm going to enjoy family. I'm going to see a few of my cousins tomorrow and just really enjoy some 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 women time because she's having a dessert party and we just so happen to be coming this weekend, so I'll be able to join in that celebration as well. It's cold. Oh, let me tell you. This past week in Charlotte, it was in the 80s. It was amazing. And now here it's like 50 degrees, 45 degrees, and it's and I know in Charlotte the temperature is going to drop. And that's the thing. This time of year, it's either hot or cold. It's no real in between. And that's the part that I'm concerned about because that's kind of like that weather that does not do well. You have to really be vitamin upped. You have to take your vitamin C's for sure and eat healthy, get lots of rest. That's why I'm like, I've been up since 3:30 this morning and I just want to get some rest. I know I'm going to have a lot of good time tomorrow, fun, laughter, lots of chit chat, and I want to have, good energy and be, just well rested for that. hmm I did speak to my daughter, but I didn't even ask her what the temperature or anything was. I hope she has appropriate clothes for that weather. She probably does. I mean, I think when when you travel and because on all of our phones we have that weather app that you can absolutely see what the weather's going to be so that you will be appropriate for it. Yes, eating a lot of oranges is good. I'm glad y'all are all speaking. Yes, it's very good. The only thing that's concerning to me about fruit, because I love watermelon, I love all fruit really, is the fact that a lot of things don't have the seeds. And if it doesn't have a seed, then how does it grow? What is it growing from? And that's the part that really puzzles me for sure. Yes. And that's why Mrs. Newton's Big Family Big Noise, well, it's one of the reasons why cuz I can't cook, so I, I can't cook. And so we, get our food catered, but also I didn't want to I saw my mother do it. I saw my mother-in-law do it. Stay up all night cooking. And then the day of the holiday, they are exhausted. And I was like, I can't. I want to enjoy the holiday just like everyone else. Maybe I'll, try my hand in the kitchen another part of the year, whatever. But on the holiday, I want to be enjoying myself just like everyone else. So it's easier when you have it all catered and the food is already prepared. You know it's going to taste good. There's no guesswork to it. Because when I cook a big meal, it's a guesswork. It's guess. Because I might have missed something. Guess what? The oil was missing. Guess what? Um, this this didn't this burnt. This got burnt. Guess what? The soap that I use to clean the chicken, because I clean it with Dove soap or Dawn liquid soap and vinegar and so it didn't really rinse off that well. So guess what? You might have some bubbles in your mouth. I want to take the guesswork out for the holidays. Let's just put it that way. You can wear four. You know what? That's how it is here. In the morning, it starts off kind of chilly, kind of cold. And then in the middle of the day, it feels like it's the summer. And then at the end of the day, it feels like a beautiful fall day. hmm Yes, I do too. And I went to the farmers market because I was like, I'm getting to the bottom of this with the watermelon and all this seedless watermelon. Because I remember my parents would put watermelon every now and again in the front flower bed in front of our house when we lived in New Jersey growing up. They would put like, a few seeds and watermelon vine would come and we would have a watermelon, like a couple of watermelon right there. What you putting down to grow a seedless watermelon? So I went to the farmer's market and I asked the farmer who was selling, he had seedless watermelon and seeded watermelon. And I said, I'd rather have the seeded watermelon because where is the seedless watermelon coming from? I'm not understanding. He That question had never been asked of him. I don't know if he grew it, but he was puzzled. He definitely was puzzled. And then I got my seeded watermelon, and then when I walked by him again, I guess he must have talked about it with someone, and he was like, well, there is a way that the watermelon still is able to grow because it has the white seeds. Even though it's seedless, it has the white seeds in it that you can use to plant. And I'm like, them white seeds, that's why it is seedless, because those things aren't, they're paper thin. Like, they have no substance, they have no insides, they have no guts, so they don't count. They don't count. Yeah, if it doesn't have seeds in it. Yeah, exactly. I'm not like, even the cucumbers, seedless cucumbers. How do you grow a seedless cucumber? Because what seed are you using to grow it? How does it happen? You know what, Mrs. Newton's, I go to soul food restaurants. So years ago, we had good friends that were caterers that would do it. But I found that, the soul food restaurants that we may frequent throughout the year, they serve their food in big portions. So, a few days before Thanksgiving, I'll order pans of candied yams, collard greens, green beans. Um, I always ask if they do a fried turkey. Now, we used to get a fried turkey from one of them, but they closed down, so we don't get that from them. What else do we get? Like their Arnold Palmer mixture of iced tea and lemonade. Um, Sometimes I'll get their mashed potatoes. We used to get their stuffing, but their stuffing tastes good, but it just looked weird to me. So I was like, I don't want to, and we wouldn't eat a lot of it. So I could just make stovetop stuffing for that. Yeah, and that's how we rock with it, like that. And then I buy all my desserts. I really like Costco's apple pie is amazing. Woo, if y'all haven't had Costco's apple pie, what? That thing is so good. So I get it like that. Yeah, you never heard of the seedless watermelon? And it's seedless. It has like little white kind of like seeds. They look like seeds, but they're small. They're tiny, and they're very thin, like paper. It's almost like a black seed that didn't mature. I think that's what it is, because it's much smaller than a black seed. And if you notice, and right now it's not watermelon season. So yeah, they sell watermelon. I don't know where they're growing it, but it's not watermelon season right now. It's watermelon season is like, I think, June to August, or July and August, something like that. But if you notice, even the black seeds in a watermelon are very weak. They're smaller than they used to be, and they're weak. They're soft. You can like swallow them and not know that you swallowed it. Because I remember it was like elementary school, and one of my best friends in elementary school, her name was Pam, and I remember the first time her and I, it was a summer, we were hanging out, and we had some watermelon, and I'm eating the watermelon, and she wasn't. She was like biting into it, spitting out the watermelon and eating the seeds. And I was like, "What? What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I like the seeds. It's like peanuts. They were like crunchy like a peanut. Look at a watermelon seed now, a black one. They're not crunchy like a peanut anymore. They're very flimsy. They're not as flimsy as the white ones, but they're flimsy. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, magnesium is really good for you. I wonder if her body was craving it because she loved some watermelon seeds. I didn't know that they have magnesium. Hmm. I know as we get older, magnesium is very, very important. And I understand that taking it at night is better than taking it during the day. I started taking my calcium magnesium pills at night because it's supposed to help you sleep better. And I sleep very well at night. So I started taking them at night. Right. Right. Puzzle pieces. I'm really trying to understand the seedless cucumbers though too. I don't understand that. Oh, oh, that sounds so good. You know what? So, I don't know how many of you are from New Jersey or have been to New Jersey, but this whole tri state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, is very known for great diners. And I actually did a short tonight on a diner my dad and I went to. Their desserts were outrageous. Oh my goodness, they were remarkable. And they had a pumpkin cheesecake. And I actually paused when I saw it because I was like, oh, I wonder what that tastes like. So, with that pumpkin cheesecake pie, puzzle pieces, first of all, are you going to make a video or share a picture or something of it? Because I would love to see it. But does it taste like sweet potato a little bit? Because I always try to imagine pumpkin everything kind of having a sweet potato flavor to it, you know? Because I love like pumpkin spice lattes that are out now, and the pumpkin muffins and things of that nature. So I can imagine it being pretty good. Yeah, and that diner had a pumpkin pie cheesecake, but yours is a pumpkin cheesecake pie. Is that still the same as a a pumpkin pie cheesecake? Is that like the same a little bit? But we're just saying it in the two different ways, but it means the same thing. I'm sure it is good. It doesn't sound weird at all. And where did we go today? I think my father and I, where were we? I know that diner had a lot of pumpkin things. It had pumpkin. Oh no. Yesterday my daughter and I, there's a place in Charlotte called Sweet Spot. And Sweet Spot is a breakfast and lunch cafe. And they had pumpkin everything. They had pumpkin waffles, pumpkin pancakes, pumpkin muffins. They had all these different pumpkin flavored breakfast items. And I said, this is something else. All right. She's only going to be there, Vernell, until Sunday. Until Sunday. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So it is the I mean, pumpkin pie cheesecake. Pumpkin pie cheesecake. Yeah. So it's yeah. Mm-hmm. And the pumpkin pie cheesecake that they had at this diner, they had all kinds of cheesecakes, first of all. But they did have that pumpkin pie one, and they had it it's like a round, it's individual. They didn't have to cut it. They're individually round, the small round ones. So I don't know, puzzle pieces, if you make yours where they're individual or do you make a big one and they have to slice it? How do you make yours? And do you have a crust on yours, like a graham cracker crust, or is it not? Because this one doesn't have a crust. It's just the pumpkin pie. It's just like it's the cheesecake, and it's like an orange color as well. I did, Vernell. Mm-hmm. I really like the sweet spot. Yes, it is so good. The sweet spot is a real sweet spot. It really is. And you know what? They have good coffee. They make good coffee too. So, I want to say this is the thing. I'll I'll drink Starbucks periodically, but if I drink Starbucks, it has to be some type of latte or frappuccino. I don't ever just get their regular coffee and add cream and sugar to it in that way because I don't really prefer the flavor. It tastes too bitter or groundy for me. I don't know. But if you go to some of these cafes that are just random and they have their little baristas there, they have amazing smooth toned blends that are just to die for. there's this other coffee shop. It's like a Cat's, and I went there. I went to one in Concord, North Carolina. I can't recall the name of it, but it's like a Cat's coffee shop because they have a room and it's all these cats like that you can adopt or whatever. So if you really are a cat lover, you can go in that room and have your coffee and just enjoy I guess, the movement of the cats and just being in their presence. And or you can just be in the coffee shop and it has a real vibe to it. But it's a real interesting place, and that one is in Concord, but I believe they have one somewhere else in Charlotte. Okay, okay, a pie crust for yours. Okay. All right. Yeah, the video that I made today from the diner, I know I really panned over quite a bit of the desserts that they had, but that pumpkin one was at the end, kind of where you pay. And when I was paying, I noticed that, oh, look at that. That's a pumpkin cheesecake. Huh, pumpkin pie cheesecake. I wonder what that's all about. So, yeah. Yeah, are you talking about the Starbucks coffee is so strong? Puzzle pieces? It's very strong. However, when I get a latte, especially on a Thursday or Friday, oh, I'm getting an extra shot of espresso because by then it has been a long week and it's about to be another long day for sure. Yeah, they do, Vernell. And I guess that's the thing. The mom and pop shops has that flexibility to get it from different places, but a franchise like a Starbucks or a Dunkin', they have to use the same blend because that's their brand. So, that's probably why their blends just don't hit it sometimes. And if it doesn't hit, and think about it with the way that the environment is, and who knows how the coffee beans are growing and how the environment, the hot and the cold weather affects them. But if it affects coffee beans, but they still have to get those same coffee beans, then their flavors aren't gonna be that good. But a mom and pop shop can say, you know what, we didn't like that blend the last month. It didn't hit right. We want to try something different, and they absolutely can do that. So that's actually, gives the buyers more choices for sure. So are you all staying home for Thanksgiving, or are you traveling? Are you cooking? Do you go to other people's homes and bring a dish? Do you do potluck? Like, how do you do your Thanksgiving now? Um, like I was saying, growing up, because we all lived around each other, our families between New Jersey and New York, it was so easy to just, for the day, go to a family member's house or whatever. But now, because we all live so spread out across the country, it's hard to do that. And another thing for Thanksgiving for me, growing up, that was always the rival football game. So Thursday was the rival football game, and we had our parade. And then after the game, everyone would go home and have Thanksgiving. No one thought about going Christmas shopping. No Christmas decorations were up around town. It was just all about being thankful and having Thanksgiving. Now, the night before, because that was like homecoming as well. So the night before that big game, they would have a big prep rally. Now, typically with high school, you have prep rally your last period of the day. But because it was homecoming, they would make that prep rally in the evening. So people that were coming home, maybe from college or coming home to visit from other parts of the country, they would have a chance to actually go to that prep rally and meet up and link up with old friends. And it was always so good to see alumni, coming through, seeing how they were doing, seeing how they matured, how they looked different. And then after the prep rally, where they would introduce the football players, the cheerleaders, and such, then they would have a huge bonfire on the track by the field, huge bonfire. And then they would have a dance in the auxiliary gym. And it was always good, clean fun. And I was home by 11. We were all home by 11. And then the next morning, I know the first couple of years I was in the marching band, and then the next couple of years I was the manager. I did the offensive line stats for the football team. Well, it wasn't just the line; it was everyone, the offensive stats, and we had to be at the field. Either we were home or away, going to that same school. It was the same school every year we play. They still play them. They played them when my mother was growing up. My mother grew up in our rival town, and we would have to be there like 8 o'clock in the morning, to prepare for the game and everything. And then again, I told you we would, go and enjoy the game, and then go home and eat. Yes, that's right. I'm glad that you are going to her and not having her pull the new baby out. And that must be so exciting. I know, to have the new baby, the extension of your circle of life for your family, during the holidays. So that's so beautiful. Wow. It's amazing to see young people nowadays. When they have a baby, it'll be 2 weeks and they're out and about, like doo doo doo. I'm like, give yourself time. It's so much. Like when a woman has a baby, afterwards, the settlement of it all, it's a lot, and sometimes it doesn't happen right away. It can take weeks before you realize that, wait, I need to slow down. I did too much, and just really take care of yourself. How's your daughter doing? And how is the baby? Oh, I know this is going to be exciting. Yes, that is. Babies are the most precious gift that God could ever give. They really, really are. They're such a miracle when you just think about the whole process of it, and how they come out and about. It's just amazing. It's amazing. I remember, especially with all three of my kids, it's just kind of like you're pregnant and you're carrying them around. To me, that's the closest you could ever possibly be to another human being. Everything you do, every place you go, everything you eat, drink, whatever, is all going to that one thing that's growing inside of you. But then there comes a time when you're just kind of like, wait a minute, this baby has to come out. Hold on. What is this going to look like? What does this mean? And every pregnancy is different. There's no guarantee. So if you had a vaginal one baby, it might not be that for the next. And so it's Russian roulette for sure. But I see you said your daughter had a C-section. Okay. And she's healing well. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I know that C-sections have come a long way. A long way. I knew what you meant. That. Thank you. Okay. hmm Yeah, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This baby has to come out some kind of way. Hmm. How is this going to be? What is this going to look like? Yes, right. Congratulations to her. So, puzzle pieces, what are you going to be called? Are you going to be called grandma, grand nanny, nana, um, glamma? What are you going to be called? What do you want to be called? I remember when we were growing up, it's only a couple of things you could be called: grandma or nana. You might have a granny or grandma, whatever. Like my father's mother, I didn't know her. She passed away shortly after I was born, but they used to call her Grandma Sadie. So sometimes they would add the name of the grandmother to it. That's what she said, but it's like you have to. You have to. Yes. Ooh, you had twins. Wow. How old are they now? And were they um both like a good size? I know I have a line sister that had twins, and they were both over 7 pounds at birth. Abuelita. All right. I love that. That's beautiful. And that's Spanish for grandmother. That's beautiful. Oh, okay. So yeah, granny. 17 going on 35. 17 is a fun year. That's a weird age because it's like you're not 16, you're not 18. Ooh, you're 17. What's going on? Yes. Oh, okay. And are they identical or are they fraternal? Right? Isn't it? Puzzle pieces. It is a weird age. It's an age of trying to understand. It's definitely a growing pains age, and it's an age where you think you know, but you really don't. You really don't. And I think that's an age where you start to try to rush things. And I always tell young people, enjoy every moment because once you're grown forever. You're only a child for a little while. You're only a child for 21 years. Well, really 18, 18 to 21 years. But after that, you're grown forever. So enjoy being a young person. Wow, at 29 weeks, yeah, they are a blessing then for sure. My nephew, he was born at either, I think my sister in law had him at 28 weeks or 27 weeks. He was born in January and he came home in March. He was born the year I got married. He and my niece were born the year I got married. And he's now I'm married 28 years. He's 28 years old and has done very well. Once he came home in March, he kept growing like a weed and thriving, no delays. He graduated from Rutgers University in New Jersey, doing well. So um everything is possible through Christ. He strengthens all of us for sure. hmm No, you cannot. And listen, puzzle pieces. If you try to get it back, it is not cute. Don't do that. Don't be old trying to relive your childhood or your youth. It passed you by. Keep going. You cannot get it back. There's only a few things in life that you have to do it. You have to seize the moment at that time because you can't go back to it. One of them is being a young person. Another, if you want to play a professional sport, 9 times out of 10, you have to do it when you are a young person, young adult, because you can't go to it when you're old. Okay, a boy and a girl. Oh, you got the package. Okay, Hmm, that's good. Perfect. Yeah. hmm Okay, I'm sorry about that for sure. Yeah. Before my son, he's my oldest, I had a miscarriage. And it's just, you don't know you can get pregnant until you get pregnant. So when you do, if it's the right moment for you, you are overjoyed. You should be overjoyed anyway because that's that gift. And that is telling you, like, wow, okay. And so when something happens to that baby, it does a lot mentally for sure. I know after that happened with me, I went to Bahamas for a month. I had to just like go underground because I just had to get my head together. Like, what's going on? And my husband, he came like once or twice. I had a really good friend who came out, to visit with me when I was there. I just kind of had to step off by myself and just get it together. And I'm very fortunate I was able to do that because I know a lot of people can't. And so I hope that for you, you were able to do something, for yourself as well. No, you can't get them back. Yes, mentally. It's a lot. As women, I feel like women, whether you have a biological or not, we are all mothers. We have mothering ways, we have mothering um, capabilities. So we mother lots of things, people and places that come around us. And we shouldn't take that for granted, because we are basically we are charged with grooming each generation that's coming up behind us, and we need to all take that responsibility very seriously. That's why I'm saying, like, whether you are a biological mother or not, you need to take that seriously. And that's why, being mentally prepared for that charge, being mentally prepared for that opportunity, you have to be. I knew when I was young, I wasn't ready, because I didn't change my first diaper until my son. My husband didn't either. We were married for almost 4 years before our son was born, and we had our miscarriage the year before he was born. And God probably was saying, you need some more grooming. You need to get ready, because this is going to be a big responsibility. And there's still some things you have to do without a child in your care. And I received that. And I think more people need to understand that having a baby is more than just giving birth. It's way more than that. Hmm. He does not put more on us than we can bear. No, they are your second act. Yes. Okay. Hmm. So you have 4 children altogether? I know I'm 8 and 9 years younger than my brothers, and my parents were a lot younger, of course, when they had my brothers. And so they were building a business, um, just doing a lot of things. And so when I came along, they had more stability. They were already, an established business, and it was just, a lot different. So every child that you have, it represents different seasons of your life as well. And that's a great thing, because you can see the growth in you. Um, you know, Kids are very resilient, believe it or not. And so God definitely gives you what you need, the tools you need to raise them the way they need to be raised when you have them. But you have to understand what those tools are and use them, use those resources. But yeah, yes. And they're willing. Yes. I was 29 when I had my son. And so he's the oldest out of the three. And I was 33 when I had my youngest. So I had them all back to back. But which I don't recommend, and I'm actually going to do a video on that. I recommend it, and then I don't recommend it. It just really depends on, it's situational, let's put it that way. It worked for us. It worked for my husband and I, but I definitely am going to do a video on that, because no one ever talked to me about that. No one ever told me the real of being a parent, that is more than just the baby stage. Everyone looks at a new parent with a baby, like, oh my gosh, the baby wakes up all night, I know you're tired, you sleep deprived. They think that's the worst of it, or the most, not the worst, no, not at all, not at all. But they always think that's the most challenging of it, and it's not. It absolutely is not. And most elders in our circles that have had children or been around children, they don't tell you about all the different stages. And it's not even about the personalities of the children, it's about the responsibilities of the parent with those children in those stages. And if you're going to have them back to back, you have to have a whole serious support, serious um be financially secure, all that. Otherwise, they need to be spread out. And I'm gonna talk more about that on another date. Okay, 4. That's a beautiful 27. Okay. Wow. So the 27 and 30-year-old, they're close too. That's good. And it's good they probably were old enough to kind of, can you get me a diaper type of help, Okay. Mhm. And so, retrograde, you could probably chime in when I do. I don't know if I'm gonna do it as a regular recorded video or a live. Maybe I need to do kind of a panel because people need to hear it. They don't understand the real of it all. They think it's cute. Some people think it's cute, like, oh, you know, they're so close in age, they're gonna grow up and be really close. And just because your children are close in age doesn't mean that they're going to be really close. I'm really blessed that all my children are close, but that doesn't mean that they had to be. And yeah, when they were younger, it was really easy because they always had each other to play with. They were all around the same age. All their friends were around the same age. So it was just like really easy. But when they got older, it was easy. I mean, no, it was challenging. It was good, but it was challenging because they had more customized things that they were involved with. And especially because my husband and I lived away from our families, it was just the two of us, but we were very fortunate financially to also be able to have a nanny. Not everyone has that, and I know that. I'm not even trying to front on that. And so our nanny was sometimes our third parent. Like, you got one, I got one, he got one. And then we'll meet somewhere in the middle. And it's a lot. And money wasn't a thing. So again, but I know that with some people it is, and that could really cause a challenge. And people, and if they're back to back, they all got the same big topic or big ticket item things they need. But if you spread them out like 4 to 5 years, that that's a game changer. All my children are 20 months apart to the day. That's why I call my center child, because she's exactly 20 months older and younger than the other two. So my children are 25, 23, and 21. But then it'll be like, you know, my 21-year-old will be 22 in March. So it'll be 22, 23, 25. Then my 23-year-old will turn 24 in June. So then it'll be 22, 24, 25. So they're always kind of like, just like almost like a year behind each other, it feels like. Yes. And you survive. You do. But then you have to say, it's important, especially as the mothers, to definitely take care of yourself in the midst of it. And sometimes it's hard to find that time to carve out. No. But she could be a great auntie. So 33 and 35, that's close in age too. Hmm. Those are good. Yeah. She's gonna be a great auntie, I'm sure. Yes, when you know better, you do better. And a lot of people don't know better. And that's why I feel like, as a content creator, I'm not saying everything I know is right, but it was right for me and it might be right for someone else. So if I keep it to myself, who am I helping to do better if it possibly can help them? And this is my legacy. So I'm doing this for my future's future. My children, they know I have a YouTube channel, and one day they might have children, God willing, and their children's children will have children, and they may say, you know what? Abuelita, she had, if that's what I'm called to, puzzle pieces. But no, but Nana had a YouTube channel, and she used to talk about a lot of things. She used to talk about life, career, entrepreneurship. She used to talk about workforce development. Maybe there's some topics in there that you should check out her channel. And, my great great grandchild might look at one of my channels and one of my videos and be like, wow, that's appropriate for me right now. Or it doesn't have to be one of my family members, it could be anyone in the world that just don't have that person that tells them or gives them additional options. It's all about options. It's all about being exposed to different ways of doing things and then making your decision. Because every decision we try to make on our own is not always the right one. So you need to have, sometimes you need to have options. You need to do your due diligence. You need to do your research and make sure that you figured it all out before you take that leap. So you have four also puzzle pieces. Okay. So wait, so it's almost like every other. So you have, it's like 35, 33, 31, and then 21. That 21-year-old's keeping you young forever. I always say that. I say that about me for my parents, since I'm 8, 9 years younger than my brothers, that I'm the one that has kept them, or that, kept them young and relevant forever. Hmm. Separation is important. But it's cool too. It's important if it's like a catch 22. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in the video, about that, is the differences, the why you might want to consider one way over the other, why you want to consider having your children close or having them spread apart. You know, I started kind of late having children. I was like 29. I knew I wanted to have my last at least by the time I was 36. So I had her when I was 33. And, I thought about another, but at that time I was like, you know what? We're already outnumbered. Hold on. But yeah. And I always I had the first one before my son. So, let's see. Yeah, you want to do a live? I think that would be good. Because especially, it seems like, you, Retro Babe, and our kids are in close in age, and we can talk about that. And then I could and then also you and Retro Babe have children that are far apart, and then I was a far apart child growing up, so that would be a good panel. Retro Babe, what do you say about that? They do. And Vernell, you know what? I always make sure I give my kids one on one. Like, even as close as they are in age, I spend one on one time with my son, just him. Even growing up, it would be mommy and son time. My daughters, I definitely, take one of them because I wanted to know who they were individually. I wanted them to know that our relationships were different than their relationships together with me, because that's important. Hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, you had a journey. Sounds like you had a real journey. God bless you for sure. Ooh. So it's to live, but see, it's hard to live around family members in some instances, Vernell. My husband's parents were in New York. My parents were in New Jersey. They had careers there. My husband's career took us all around the country. I was in LA, New Orleans. My son was born in New Orleans. And then we, ended up in Charlotte, thankfully. And this was just, a blessing for sure. Right before we had our son in New Orleans, my mother-in-law retired after working as a teacher for decades. And, she retired and was able to come and be with me my last trimester because my husband was at camp. And, she was there to escort her first grandchild into the world. And so, and my husband was there too, but it was nice to have her there. And so sometimes it could be challenging in that way. And then as our children got older and we were in Charlotte, our parents all retired. My parents sold their business, and they moved in between, like my brothers and I. And my in-laws moved down to Charlotte to be closer to us. So that was definitely a blessing. But then, life happens, and my mother became, ill. And then after she passed, my father-in-law became ill, and then he passed. And it's just a lot, it's a lot of moving pieces when in life. And so you have to sometimes just rely on what you can do. That's why you have to make sure that like your situation is pretty solid if you can. If you can. And things can change with that. So you have to almost be able to pivot. It definitely takes a village. And again, we were very fortunate to be able to afford a nanny that was a phenomenal. And she was around our parents' age. Her and her husband retired from upstate New York, and they had three grown children that were just a little bit younger than my husband and I, but they did not have grandchildren as of yet. And she was she was wonderful with our kids. They really respected her. She respected them and us, and she was just definitely a godsend. Mm, that's a whole nother topic too. The dynamics of the relationship. Hmm, very interesting. This is really interesting conversations that we're having. Yeah, puzzle pieces, the ups and downs, the challenges, the having them young versus having them a little older. You know, like I said, my husband and I, we dated for 3 years, then we got married, then we were just married with no children for 3 to 4 years. So it was about 6 years solid that we had together before we had our first child. And I would not take that away for anything. That was the best decision for us because we were able to really fully live life. And the interesting thing, when my youngest was in like kindergarten, I remember I was like one of the old mothers in the class, and I wasn't even 40 yet. I think I was, let me see, 38, 39, just about 40. And I remember there was a young mother that I became friends with, and her daughters were her daughters were my daughter's ages, and her husband got married before they were 21 and had their first before they were 21. So she had children before she even could drink legally, and because of that, and she was really a hands-on mother, she didn't experience a lot of things that young people just experience, like hanging out, having no responsibility. You just responsible for yourself. It is what it is. And she said, but the good thing is, by the time I'm 40, they'll be out, finish school and everything, and I'll be able to, really live my life. And I'm like, wow, that's like my age now. It was just, you know, I don't know. Because to me, tomorrow's not promised. So you really kind of want to live your life when you can live it and not put it off for 20 more years. I don't know. But we kind of lost touch, especially after I, had to, was in Virginia and was caring for my mother. So we kind of lost touch a little bit. But I think that those conversations would be really good. I don't hear those conversations. I hear psychologists talking about parenting. Many of them aren't even parents. They may have like a podcast, or I don't know. Theirs is more technical, it's more clinical. And I think a real talk one would be better. Okay. I think we need to see how this can work. Hmm. I have an email address in my bio. If you all could puzzle pieces and retro babe, if you can email me, and then we can see what we can kind of pull together. I think that would be really dope. Right. Oh, see, that's true. Yeah. Sometimes even when you live around your family, they might not be able to help. And it's not because they don't necessarily want to help. It's not like, oh no, I don't want to help you. It's just that their life is happening, and they're not capable of helping. Yeah. Just like, my parents moved to be closer to me to help, but then my mother got ALS. my in-laws moved closer to us to help, but then my father's prostate cancer came back with a vengeance. So yeah, things can definitely happen. You definitely have to navigate in different seasons, Vernell, for sure. You did. Definitely. That was a blessing. And my mother-in-law, I mean, after my father-in-law passed away, she moved back to New York because she just, I don't know, I guess the fact that, my father-in-law got sick in Charlotte and everything, I don't know, but she moved back and doing well. And she's been a godsend to my children for sure, and very supportive. My father too. Everyone is supportive and doing what they can, but the fact that she helped you raise your children, that is a blessing. And they get to see like that generation. I'm sure her food is probably different. Yeah, okay. Mhm. And see, that could be your perspective on what that was like for you. Yes. And my father and I, Vernell, was just having this conversation about being single is not a disease, you know, and or letting yourself fully heal in between relationships. Don't leave one relationship and pivot right into another. Even if the person that is standing right there looks like they are the perfect one, give yourself time. Give yourself time to process what just happened. So many people just jump into the next thing and they just feel like, oh, I left that. Now I'm going here. No, give yourself time, chill, because you're not going to be any better in this new relationship because you're not even sure how you weren't better in the last relationship. A lot of people aren't willing to get to know who they are. So busy trying to figure out who other people are. Okay, puzzle pieces, thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah. The mothers and the sons, you know. But I know I was definitely fortunate that I had a good relationship and have a good relationship. But I know a lot of people don't for many reasons. But luckily, you did have your family for sure. Wow. Yeah. So, everyone, you know what? I have to get ready to sign out because I need to get some rest for my mind, body, and soul so I can be at my best tomorrow for the it's going to be a dessert party. Again, I'm here in New York, New Jersey. I'll be in New York tomorrow though with my father. I was just bringing him to visit his sister. She's 89, my father's 85, and they're the last two of 11. And my father was really close with all of his siblings, and this sister, my aunt, is one of the nicest. All of my aunts, and unfortunately, she's my last aunt. All of my aunts were some of the nicest women I ever knew, and I recognized that at a very early age. I realized that, you know what, this woman is nice, like a nice human being. And my prayer, and I remember praying this in from the about the ninth grade. I remember praying that I could grow up to be as nice as my aunts. That was my prayer. I was like, I pray that when I get older, I can be nice like them. Just nice. I don't know if I if I got there yet. I'm still growing up. Look, I'm not at the age where, but it's just the two of them, and he just kept talking about her last week. He had some concerns and stuff. And I said, you know what, Dad? I'm going to take you up there. I'm going to take you Friday. And so here we are. And I called her daughter and I said, are you all going to be in town? Because I'm bringing my dad up to see your mother. Is your mom going to be in town? Because sometimes she goes to Maryland to one of her other daughters. And she said, we are. And I'm having my dessert party. And you can come. And it's going to be celebrating my 60th birthday. It's going to be 60 candles, like 16 candles, and it's going to be a bunch of women and desserts, and we're just going to have a good time. And you know what? I need that, and I'm excited for it. So it's going to be important for me to have energy for it tomorrow, because I know it's going to be a lot of laughter, talks, connections. My cousin is dynamic and has a variety of friends that are very interesting, and I'm just excited to meet some of them and reconnect with the others that I've known from other events from her past. So yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. And I hope you all have a great weekend too. I may go live tomorrow night after we come back from the dessert party, or I might do a pre recorded video. I don't know. I'm definitely trying to put out more content and be more consistent with it. But I'm looking forward to getting the emails from you, Puzzle Pieces, as well as Retro Babe Saves. Thank you so much. Let me see. Um, oh, she wrote plays. The coordinator on my team, she writes plays and she puts them together. She's actually writing a script for a movie now too. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you did. I had a great time with you all. It wouldn't have been the same without you. So thank you for being here. I hope again you have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. Step off if you have to, so that you could be your best, not just for others, but especially for yourself. And I will speak to you all soon. Stay safe.